Bromley was here, state superintendent, talking about child welfare and attendance. What can we do better to make sure kids are going to school, staying in school? What do you feel like came out of that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that came out of that, we talk about the whole theme of being better together, and that was the purpose of that particular summit. For the first time in a long time, at least, maybe ever, we have the judicial system, the lawmakers, the local entities, the DAs, the families in needs of services, FINS officers, the school boards, all coming together around trying to solve this issue. And it is a very real issue in our state for sure, but really around the country, of chronic absenteeism and truancy. What we know is we're trying to make strides and ensure that our students are literate and getting basic foundational math and all of these different things in the academic realm. We can't do it if they're not coming to school. And so the state has launched this Power of Presence initiative to really emphasize the importance of coming to school. And so, it's public education in our state is not just, or in our country, it's not just a right, it is a responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so with the judicial system moving towards taking a more active role, I do want to give a huge thank you to Judge Lauren Lampert, who has been instrumental since he took office and took the bench in the juvenile court, and now kind of handing that torch over to Brian Zaspiva, as I understand it. They have hired some personnel, some that are former educators that worked here for our system, so they understand how things work from the inside of our system, but also are learning how things work on the judicial side. But they were able to bring these groups of folks together, work in teams around community teams, so that we can problem solve around these two issues of chronic absenteeism and truancy.
What are some specific things, too, that could be done, put in place, besides just messaging?
Yeah, so one of the most important things, obviously it starts with us at the school level in terms of making sure that we have good enough systems to be able to contact parents when children aren't coming to school, right? So we have to make sure that we have things in place for that. So we're working on that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to parents making sure your children get on the bus, get to school however they can. We've heard ideas of us doing like second chance bus routes. If a child just misses a bus, sometimes a kid will just miss a bus, but then the parent doesn't have an opportunity to get them to school, right, for whatever reason. And so we can do some things like that. And then a lot of it really, Stephen, is on the follow-up side. Like, how are we communicating with parents once students start missing more than 10% of the time that we've been in school, or approach that 5 tardies or 5 absences once the school year starts. So, it's really going to take everybody pulling together. And, we hear so many things talked about, a lot of the reason why Judge Lampert got so heavily interested and involved, that some of the juveniles that would wind up before him on the bench were students that one of the first things they do is ask for the child's school records. And when they start seeing that these students, they're 15, 16 years old, but haven't been going to school, it's obviously, if you're not in school where you could be doing something productive, you're at home doing something, or not at home doing something not productive, there's a problem that we as a community can come together to solve.
I know Chief Justice Weems, or Chief Supreme Court Judge Weems, was saying that he's not ready to say that truancy is a pipeline to prison, but that's something they are looking at and saying that could be a problem.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that there's a strong correlation between those things. And again, I go back to in our state, in our country, we often talk about everybody's right to a free and appropriate public education. But again, we have a responsibility to take advantage of that. And that's where parents and community leaders can come in. I can tell you, I'll tell on myself a little bit. When I was a kid growing up in Texas, if you made the bad decision to skip school or do something other than go to school where you're supposed to, it was common knowledge that you would not be seen in public because you would get picked up by the police because you were supposed to be in school.
I remember that, yeah.
And so if someone chose to skip school, they would make sure that they would do things other than be seen in public.
Right.
So I
remember that.
And I know that from experience. But,
I remember that when I was a kid too. And if for whatever reason I wasn't in school, I remember being afraid that a police officer would see me.
Yeah, and we had phone systems, and we do now that do auto calls. Like if a child's not at school, it calls the home to make sure, or calls whatever phone number is in the system. Of course, back in those days, if it was landlines, right? So you.
So you're saying Ferris would never get away with it now?
That's right. He shouldn't be able to.
See, if it was made now, they're like, well, they just had an automated call.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had to make sure we were home in time to catch that.
Right.
As I was told, anyway.
Yeah.
I was too chicken to even try it.
Really?
But I went to a school of like 30-something people.
It was noticed
So
when you were
pretty
gone, right?
obvious. And what are you going to do if you stay home in Fairview,
I think I only
Watch the
skipped
news.
one day in the history of my high school, K through 12, and that was the Friday game when the Brewers were in the National League Championship Series, American League Championship Series, 1982. It was a Friday afternoon game, so we skipped.
Well, surely that was an excused absence, Al.
Surely it should have been, but it wasn't.
I faked sick one time, so I come from a very Christian family, and things like Grand Theft Auto were not, and it shouldn't be. It's a horrible game, but I wasn't allowed to have it, so I borrowed it from my friend, faked sick, so I could play it at my grandma's house, and then my grandma catches me, and I got in huge trouble.
Wow.
She goes, "What is that filth you're playing?"
Oh, Steven.
Don't play Grand Theft Auto.
Okay. Tips for the kids. That's what we're here to do. Educate you here on Talkback. We'll have more with Jeff Powell coming up.
KSYL. Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
You too could have a beautiful smile in as little as 12 weeks. Exclusive to Today's Dental in Pineville, Virtual Align Clear Aligners, the fastest, most convenient, affordable way to straighten your teeth for people on the go. Plus, they're invisible. No one will know you're doing it. Experience the Virtual Align difference. Call Today's Dental at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. 448-4540.
It's game day, and this could be the biggest game of the year. Let's listen into the locker room as Coach preps his team.
Listen up, this ain't just any game, so you've got to be game ready. Yeah. You know what that means. Lock in, gear up, and get your hands on the one ticket that has more action than a fourth quarter comeback. Game Ready, the new Saints scratch-off from the lottery.
Yeah. Play Game Ready from the lottery. Win up to $100,000. Also, it's game time when you play Saints Game On, the new $5 pass play game from the lottery. Enter the second chance drawings to win Saints prize packages and up to $1 million.
Put your game face on. Remember, you're not just ready, you're game ready.
Yeah! It's game time with Game Ready and Saints Game On. Win up to $100,000. Enter second chance drawings for Saints prize packages with a chance to win up to $1 million. Visit LouisianaLottery.com for more details. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
We're back with Superintendent Jeff Powell here on Talkback. Should remind folks that the household income survey deadline is approaching.
Yeah, so one of the most important things that we do, data points that we collect at the beginning of every year, is these household income surveys. I think we talked about it a little bit last time. You know, used to when a lot of us were in school, or even up until just a few years ago, we called it the free reduced lunch forms. And now that everybody eats free, regardless of your income, we still need to collect data, because that data is the foundation for all of our federal support and different levels of state support in terms of funding that we receive. So a lot of our Title I dollars, for instance, which is one of the biggest pots of money that we do get from the feds is to increase the academic achievement of students that are economically disadvantaged. That's the purpose of those funds. Well, the only way we know if the students are coming from an economically disadvantaged background is through these income surveys. Obviously, we don't have access to people's income tax and all those types of things. So I do know that there is oftentimes some reluctance to sharing that type of stuff and that type of information. But, obviously we don't share that information with anybody. It goes into our system so that the state and the feds can see, hey, X percentage of the students that are enrolled in Rapid Parish Public Schools meet these criteria. Therefore, we're eligible for this much funding. So even if you don't think you meet any certain criteria, we really need 100% participation in that so that there's a clear picture of who we are as a district.
Gotcha. All right. We have a call coming in. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Jeff Powell. Or we don't. Okay. By the way, 442-8255 is our number on the BOM Bank talk line if any of you do have a call.
I don't know if this has been discussed before because I just got back, and I'm just kind of curious. My mom works in Ellen Parish. They said they've been talking a lot about 4-day weeks, of course, for Boyles Parish. Is that something you guys are even considering?
I appreciate you bringing that up, Stephen.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that brings up things that the superintendent doesn't want to talk about.
Here's
I'll take it back.
Yeah, it's okay. There's so much I could say about it, but I think that the just overwhelming thought that I have as the superintendent of public schools here is that what's best for our students is that they are in school at least 5 days a week.
Okay.
And so while I do understand across the nation there is a movement towards, particularly from more rural systems who typically can't match the pay of the larger systems. And so one way that they try to incentivize the attracting and keeping employees is to offer a 4-day work week. Obviously any decisions we make is going to be in the best interest of our students and their overall academic achievement. And so I don't anticipate that there would be a recommendation from the superintendent to go to a 4-day week.
So no.
Steven's just saying that because he wants a 4-day work.
No.
Sure.
I would vote against it as
No,
well.
I mean, you personally want one.
A 4-day week?
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. I like my job now.
Okay, well, that's good.
When I had an old boss in town, it was a little bit different.
Yeah. He couldn't wait to get away.
Well, interestingly enough, I think the first few years I was superintendent, we were pushing for the balanced calendar, which was more like a year-round school. So, it was, our deal is trying to figure out more ways that we can make a positive impact in there. And look, Rapides Parish is the economic hub for Central Louisiana. So imagine if the school system went to 4-day week, but all of the business and industry was still on a 5-day week. There's all kinds of factors. I think the key data point, though, Stephen, when we saw a big movement here, and look, us and Natchitoches Parish are about the only ones still standing in Central Louisiana that are 5-day week. But one of the key data points I saw from some of the research about 3 years ago when I started looking at it as everybody was going that way was, at least according to some reports, juvenile crime goes up by about 20% in communities where they go to a 4-day week. So I think with the emphasis that our local community has on trying to decrease crime, the last thing we would want to do is create an opportunity for an increase in crime.
Well, as a parent, trying to think of how you would take care of your child, especially if they're younger, for that extra day. I don't even know how you would remotely do it. I don't know how people do it.
And we have a lot of high quality childcare centers here in Rapides Parish. But when you think, we have 21,000 students in our schools, say, a half of those are below the age that you would want them staying at home by themselves. So you're talking about 10,000, or even if some of them have siblings or whatever, say it's 5,000, 5,000 children. Where are they going to go?
That's money out of my pocket too.
Yeah. All right, we do have a call coming in. It looks like now. Good morning. You're on Talk Back with Jeff Powell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask the question I've been seeing going around on Facebook and wondering if Rapides Parish is a part of it, where in October the 2nd is Bring Your Bible to School Day. Is that something that is legit, or is that just something people are posting just to get a rise?
There's not an official thing through the Rapides Parish School Board, but I'm sure if some organizations like Fellowship of Christian Students or Fellowship of Christian Athletes may be promoting something like that, which, there's nothing against that. There's no law or rule against that.
You can bring your Bible, I'm sure.
Okay.
I just thought it was pretty neat. Thanks.
Yeah. And I think in the light of recent events last week, you're seeing maybe young people that are trying to kind of rally around some of that as well. So, yeah, seeing a post from Focus on the Family, which is promoting that, and just a lot of other kind of individual groups or organizations that are promoting that.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, obviously we have groups and clubs throughout our schools. We have several days throughout the year, such as the Meet Me at the Pole Day, and the National Day of Prayer, where we have different entities do that. And, you know, I think it's in light of the recent events, as Al said, I think it's important to note that there's nothing that prevents people from praying at school. There's nothing that prevents them from bringing their Bibles to school. There's absolutely nothing to prevent somebody from showing their faith.
I know that Turning Point USA, which was Charlie Kirk's organization, is getting a lot of requests for chapters around the country. Do we have any at the schools here in Rapides Parish, and are there more requests coming?
Yeah, so I actually did a little research too. I mean, I was admit that I was a little ignorant on all the things that related to Turning Point USA, and started doing some research after the recent events. And I'm not aware of any, Al, not particularly related to our public school system.
Okay.
Actually was able to talk with my one of my sons that's in college right now, just seeing if he had heard of anything, and he had not either. So I think there is going to be a keen interest in that as a result of the most recent events. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I think Din Clayton, when we had him on, he's an LSUA student, graduated from Buckeye, had said that they had tried to get one started there at one point.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah. So maybe they will. But anyway, today's also Constitution Day, and I'm sure some of the schools are doing things for that.
Yeah, we we've been sharing out. There's actually a law that says that it's required to make sure that we put an emphasis on Constitution today. So excited to see what some of our schools are posting out today relative to that. You know,
is that state law? Or
I believe it's a federal law.
Really?
It came back from, I've been getting some emails reminding us, hey, make sure that you're following this law. And I'm pretty sure it's a federal law.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's some of the things we don't talk a lot about, Al, is the need for understanding who we are as a country and exactly what these founding documents mean. And, you know, I don't want to go all, you know, political with what some people felt about the law that was passed last year that was promoted by our governor and attorney general for the posting of the 10 Commandments, but it was not just the 10 Commandments. It was multiple historical documents that the law says need to be posted in every school. And it's really to get back to a fundamental the justification of the laws and the rules that we have in our land. And so I know there was a heavy emphasis on just the 10 Commandments piece, but there were other documents such as the Constitution that we've got to bring some just true academic focus back on what those documents really mean, why they're important, and how do they apply to us today.
Which, when we had Cade Brumley on last week, he talked about just kind of a return teaching civics and history about the country so that kids understand that.
Absolutely. And from him coming as a former social studies teacher, I mean, that's obviously near and dear to him, but he's also, you know, a patriot. I mean, he loves our country, as I do, and as I think you guys do as well. And so something's got to change in the narrative of combating the divisiveness and really focusing on the things that bring it. We are the United States of America. Right. And so for whatever reason, over the last few decades, there seems to be much more of an emphasis on the things that divide us rather than the things that unite us. And there needs to be a revival around the things that unite us. I mean, that's where we're strong. That's where we were so respected. That's where, you know, so many great things happen in our country. Al, I think you and I have talked about it before. One of my favorite books of all time, I've just started rereading again, is The Greatest Generation by Tom Brokaw. And that's some of the things that he talks about in that you know, generation of young people or people that were born during the Depression, you know, had to survive that way. And then by the time they graduated high school, they were drafted, had to go to World War II, you know, all these different things. And then they came back, and those feats were huge in and of themselves. But then when they came back, they built this country, you know, and not to say that they were perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but the things that they did that kind of built the America that we all grew up in and had the opportunities to do is because of those. And so, you know, the more that we can unite around things that bring us together and make us stronger, I think that's what the focus has got to be somehow.
To be better together.
Better together.
I've heard that somewhere.
Oh, you like Tom Brokaw? I didn't know that.
I like that book.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that he...
No, Brokaw was okay. He wasn't wasn't awful. Okay, so we got about a minute left. Two quick things. The Tioga Fieldhouse dedication with Wilton Barrios and National Merit semifinalist.
Yeah, so one of the really cool things that you get to do sometimes when you work in this business is get to honor people for their service. And Mr. Barrios, if y'all don't know him, he's a longtime educator in the parish. He retired from Rapides Parish School Board several years ago, teaching at Tioga High School, lifelong Tioga resident, and then went on to Grace and still continued teaching there while serving on the school board. Been on the school board now 23 years, I believe it is, and he's one of the ones. We have 5 that because of the term limits that were established back in 2012, I believe he will be circling off the board next year. But several members of the community reached out. They have a new field house being built out there at Tioga as part of the last bond that they passed, and really wanted to try to honor him in a way. So we do still have to get it approved by the board, but I did reach out to the majority of the board members who definitely, we wanted to surprise him. So we did it at the football game last Friday night, letting him know that pending board approval, we'll be putting his name on the new field house to honor his dedication and sacrifice to the school community.
Very cool. And we really don't have time, but I want to mention this. Riley Bennett from Pineville High School named National Merit semifinalist, only one of 6,800 students around the country. So congrats to him.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank
Always
you.
fun to catch up with you.
Now we know you skipped school. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Or you didn't skip school.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter. At the clinics, your health is our priority. Whether it's a routine checkup or ongoing care, we are here for you. Dr. Noah Miller, our newest family medicine physician, along with 5 other dedicated family physicians, are now accepting new patients. Schedule your appointment today. And remember, if you're ever admitted to the hospital, our doctors will see you there too. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The Clinics, 1587 North Bolton, 445-9823, online at theclinics.us.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the whoops. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The world once needed lots of paper made right here in central Louisiana. Now we're making a comeback with clean methanol. Beaver Lake Renewable Energy will turn Louisiana wood into fuel, creating hundreds of direct and indirect jobs and giving loggers a steady market again. It's not just a plant, it's a promise to our land, our people, and our future. Visit BeaverLakeRenewable.com and find out how we're putting central Louisiana back on the map.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. Talk back.
All right. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
we're talking about free speech and knowing your amendments. I think Pam Bondi needs to read hers again.
I agree. And I do give credit. There are a number of conservative voices that kind of called her out. If you didn't hear, she was talking about cracking down on all forms of hate speech. Now, she backtracked a little and she meant hate speech that incites violence, but still.
That's against the law.
Yeah.
But there is no law against hate speech.
Right. I mean,
you could have employee consequences.
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah, within a work environment, and we're seeing that around the country. People have been losing their jobs for dumb things they've been saying, and in light of, you're not going to go to jail for that, but you could lose your job for it.
Well, John Carl from CBS News questioned the president about that, and he goes, well, you're being hateful to me now. Maybe we should go after you. He's just so brazen. Like, it's...
I know, but then he kind of was talking about his beautiful wife, and,
Or like they asked about Charlie Kirk, he's like, I'm sad. Oh, by the way, here's my big, beautiful ballroom. And then he went to a Yankees game and danced, and then he went golfing.
Well, life goes on.
I guess so.
All right, coming up after the top of the hour, we'll talk with Shirley Ryland from Alexandria Counseling.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenlaw Broadcasting. AM 970, FM 104.9, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3, HD3, Alexandria.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Vicky Barker in London. As VIP welcomes go, President Trump's was VVVIP as he and First Lady Melania arrived at Windsor Castle. This unprecedented second state visit accompanied by unprecedented pageantry. After a carriage ride across the grounds, the president and first lady are now having lunch with King Charles and Queen Camilla. Former British diplomat Alan Duncan.
It's got this state visit off to a very, very good start, and I hope it continues in this vein.
The Trumps being kept well away from protesters in Windsor and in central London. They're spending the night at Windsor Castle. Then tomorrow, the president meets British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for talks at the prime ministerial country estate. I'm Vicky Barker in London. Now with more CBS News, here's Deborah Rodriguez.
Back home in Washington, the fired CDC director will begin testifying before the Senate Health Committee next hour. Correspondent Allison Keyes.
In her prepared remarks, Susan Minara says she was fired because she did not pre-approve recommendations from a vaccine advisory panel, regardless of scientific evidence, or fire vaccine policy officials. She says Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told her to do that, which he denied to a Senate panel earlier this month.
The FBI is searching for a driver who crashed his car into the entrance gate of a field office in Pittsburgh early this morning, threw an American flag over the top, and ran away. Special agent in charge Christopher Giordano says they're looking for a local man named Donald Henson.
We consider this an act of terror because it was directly against the FBI. He has come here in the past, specifically targeted this building because it's the FBI building.
He says no one was injured. The Federal Reserve is set to wrap up a two-day meeting today with an announcement on an interest rate cut. Things to consider, CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
The labor market is deteriorating, and there's no doubt about that. But at the same time, we see prices are starting to edge higher because of those tariffs. I think the Fed is really going to focus on the labor market. We're expecting a 0.25 percentage point drop.
Cardi B is confirming the rumors. She's just made the exclusive reveal to CBS Morning's Gayle King.
I'm having a baby with my boyfriend, Stefan Diggs. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
She won't say when the little one will arrive, just that it'll be here before her tour begins in February. It'll be Cardi's fourth child. She shares her first three with her ex-husband, rapper Offset. Dow futures are up 51, S&P futures down 2, NAS futures off 12. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
I'm Matt Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Your car steering wheel could be a ticking time bomb. At least 24 people have died and many more injured because their airbags fired shrapnel at them upon inflating. Tens of millions of cars have been recalled. If you suffered cuts that required stitches, hearing or vision loss, or broken bones, please contact us today. You could be owed money for medical bills and other damages.
Morgan & Morgan. Visit us at badairbags.com for an office near you. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Sean Burns. The Washington Post is reporting the White House has plans to send as many as 1,000 National Guard troops to various Louisiana cities. Andrew Greenstein has the mixed reaction.
Governor Landry was asked about the leaked White House plans during an economic development news conference. He said he supports the potential move, saying it will make cities safer and in effect make them more attractive to businesses.
Mark Zuckerberg and corporate America is not interested in going to places that are dangerous. So when I want them to look at Louisiana, I want them to see safety.
Democratic Congressman Troy Carter says using the National Guard to fight crime is not the answer.
Guardsmen don't have the expertise in de-escalation. They don't know the municipal laws to be enforced in a city.
I'm Andrew Greenstein.
An arrest in Terrebonne Parish in the 2015 murder of Pamela Johnson. 70-year-old Charles Johnson and 43-year-old Shannon Robinson are both facing first-degree murder and solicitation for murder charges. They're being held in the Terrebonne Parish Detention Center without bond. LRN.
Storms, tornadoes, power outages. It's the season, so get prepared. Get storm ready with Southern Air. Get a free estimate on a generator, the right generator for your home and family, plus 0% financing for 60 months with approved credit. Let Southern Air help you take the worry out of hurricane season. Take action now. Visit southernairnow.com and let us bear it. Or give us a call at 318-777-5555. Keep the lights on with Southern Air.
Good morning. Partly cloudy skies on our Wednesday with the possibility of an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. Lord knows we could use some rain at this point. Afternoon highs near 94 degrees, winds light and variable. Tonight, a few clouds will give way to generally clear skies overnight down to 68. And then for Thursday and Friday, you got it. No major changes in the forecast over the next couple days. From the Zenlaw Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Good morning to you. Alan Stephen with you here on this Wednesday, and excited to talk with you in another hour of excellence here on Talkback. Joining us here in the studio is Shirley Ryland. She is the licensed clinical social worker and founder of Alexandria Counseling, LLC, and joins us to talk a little bit about this month being National Recovery Month. Good morning to you. How are you today?
Thank you. Doing very well. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit about Alexandria Counseling. How long has it been around now, and why did you found it?
Okay, well, I've been in private practice for many years. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And in 2017, I started my own practice. At that time, I also started working with Palmetto Addiction Recovery Program, which is in Rayville, because I really have a heart for working with people who have substance use disorders. And so that's what I was here to talk about today is National Recovery Month, and to focus on the positive rather than negative. We talk a whole lot about the problem, which is substance use disorders, but the other side of that is recovery, and recovery is possible.
So when we talk about Recovery Month, are there special things that are done to mark the occasion, or how exactly is this month noted?
Well, the government has a whole lot of literature out about different months, about awareness. I just took this opportunity as a chance to inform the community about the resources that are out there for substance use problems. We're still dealing with the stigma when it comes to alcohol and drug use. We still look at it. We try not to, but we do look at it as a moral dilemma. And I think the reason that we look at it that way is because a person who has developed a problem with substances, their moral compass really does change. And a lot of their behavior becomes not appropriate and certainly difficult to deal with. So it's easy to think, well, this is just a moral problem, and if you would just stop, you could stop on your own. Science shows us that a lot of people can stop on their own, but there is a segment of us that once we get caught in that web, I call it, it's very difficult to stop on your own. So I wanted to just inform people that there are resources that you can access to get help for your family member.
For sure. When you talk about addiction, are there different kind of levels of it with people as far as how deep they get into it and how hard it is to break them from it?
Yes, I believe that there's a lot of factors. Okay. I think the biggest factor, and the one I would love to be more proactive in our community, is about education, because the longer a person can go in their development without utilizing substances, the less chance they have of developing a problem. So if we could, keep people, we all know that the brain is still developing. It's not fully developed till 25. For some of us, much later than that. If we could keep substances out of that, or at least deter people, the odds increase significantly when a person starts using chemicals early in life, because they start using that as a coping mechanism. Because we need to face it, drugs and alcohol make you feel good. It is a euphoric feeling, and we're all looking for some sort of peace. We all have a hole in us that we're trying to fill. Sure. And the earlier a person starts, the more difficult it is to get a handle on it later. Okay. So that's one factor that I think is very important, and that we really need to work with the families and the parents to help them understand that.
I guess when we think of addiction, we typically think of drugs or alcohol, drugs with things like, I don't know, cocaine or other things that are highly addictive. But we do hear stories of people that, they break a leg or they break an arm and they are prescribed pain pills, for example. And some people, it's just like that, they get hooked. How often do you see that happen?
I couldn't tell you a statistic of how often that happens, but I do see a lot of people that are later in life and have never had any kind of substance issue. So it's kind of like that perfect storm sometimes. If a person is having a lot of emotional problems and they have an accident or something and they're using the medications, and all of a sudden they don't really need the medication anymore for the pain, but it helps with the emotional pain that they're feeling. Okay. So yes, I do see that happen a lot, that their substance use problems started in a medical condition. We don't know all the answers to why some people can experiment or use addictive substances without becoming addicted. We don't understand all of that. We do understand variables, the level of stress, maybe a family history of addiction. We know that, genetic genes play a role in that. I think the most important thing is to help family members, because when a person starts having a problem with substances, they lose their ability to recognize there's a problem. Their defense mechanisms, it's an incredibly fascinating but very sad condition to see a person's mind work around starting to protect that and not wanting to believe that it is a problem. And that's where we need to learn how to intervene and help motivate people to get to treatment so that they can sober up, really, so they can think straight again.
What would be some signs a person should look for to determine if they have a problem? Like, do I have a problem? How do I know? Because a lot of people, I'm sure, justify it or, I'm not that bad. But what would be some signs that they could see in themselves to say, well, wait a minute, maybe I do have something going on here?
Well, I think one very clear thing would be I hear a lot of people talk about their attempts to control their use. If you have to start trying to control it and put all kinds of boundaries around your use, you're probably in trouble. Okay. Another thing is if family, are complaining to you about your behavior. or you're starting to have consequences on the job, you're late, and those kinds of things. But the defense mechanisms that are developed within the disease, and I do believe it's a disease, of addiction, protect that person against the reality of what's happening to them. And that's what's so difficult for families to understand, because it's so obvious to us that there's a problem. But that person truly has a distorted perception of reality.
Yeah.
They're not lying. They do lie, but they're not lying as much as they're lying to themselves, because addiction is a very self-centered, not the person, but addiction itself wants to protect itself.
What do you see most of the time? Is it where someone who's struggling reaches out to you, or is it a family member who says, hey, my family member's having an issue, can you help them?
Well, that could happen two ways. I always say that nobody ever wakes up. First of all, no one takes their first drink, takes their first pill, smokes their first DAP pen, or any other substance thinking, I'm going to become an alcoholic. They're just doing what our culture says is the norm, giving it a try, seeing how it works. And for some people, it's just an automatic, this feels good, and I'm fixing to start using this as a coping mechanism, okay? People will say, well, I came to treatment of my own accord. And I always say, well, yes, you're here voluntarily. The police didn't bring you, but your wife is saying, if you don't get some help, I'm going to leave you. Or your job is saying you can no longer work and drive our vehicle until you get treatment. So there's always some sort of motivation, consequence, or something that has pushed a person to come. The place that I feel that we miss and we need the most education is in helping families. Families are very embarrassed by the fact that they have a family member who has a substance abuse problem, okay? And it's happened to all of us. It's not, it doesn't care who you are, where you came from, what color you are, how smart you are, how educated you are. There's just a section of us that are going to get in trouble with chemicals. And if we could just let the families know how to help motivate their family member as soon as possible, sooner rather than later, then we wouldn't have these sad stories of their 25 or 35-year-old child overdosing, and them just never really have known what to do because they're afraid to talk about it. Okay, we need to make it something we talk about all the time. Not so much the problem as there is a solution, and that's what I wanted to focus on today. There is a solution. My passion is working with substance use disorders. So I do aftercare, and we have Palmetto has an intensive outpatient program that's in my office at Alexandria Counseling. And so I'm around recovering people all the time. And I love to be around recovering people because sometimes they're more mature, have better problem-solving skills than the actual average person because they've taken the time. They've had to take the time to figure out more about themselves and how they're going to behave in an appropriate way.
If someone's going through something or they know someone who is, how do they get in touch with you and what are the resources available?
Okay, well, what we have available is a whole team of people at Alexandria Counseling that can work with family members, children who are growing up in a addicted family, individual counseling, family counseling, and we also have a collaborative program with Palmetto. Palmetto is in Rayville, Louisiana. They have a 100-bed residential program. They've been around for 32 years. They know what they're doing, and they have local outpatient programs in every major city in Louisiana, so that if a person does go into inpatient, it doesn't stop there. They can drop down and go back to work and come to treatment at night. So they could call Alexandria Counseling. Everything pretty much goes through that at 318-704-6157, and we'll try to get you to the right person. If we're not the right person, we'll get you to the right person.
Well, I know for you, it's all about helping people. And we appreciate that you do that. So again, give that number in case people...
Okay, yes, Alexandria Counseling, 318-704-6157.
Okay, and you're also on Facebook.
Yes.
People can find you there.
Yes.
The Facebook.
Yes, and we have a website with all of our counselors and a bio on all of them, and you can ask questions or make an appointment through the website also.
All right. So if you're having problems or a family member is having problems, don't walk, run to get this done.
And celebrate people who are in recovery.
Yeah.
These people have done a miraculous thing by having a week, a month, 10 years, 30 years of sobriety.
Very cool. All right. Shirley Ryland, she's a licensed clinical social worker. She's the founder of Alexandria Counseling. Thank you so much for being with us here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. More Talkback coming up.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with The Clinics. We provide primary, family, and chronic care along with gastroenterology, podiatry, with on-site lab and x-ray services. I'm pleased to welcome family physician Dr. Noah Miller to our team. We are currently accepting new patients and same-day appointments are available. If you're admitted into the hospital, our doctors will see you there as well. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The Clinics on North Dalton, 445-9823, and online at theclinics.us.
Barksdale Federal Credit Union's home mortgage team invites you to join them for free ice cream at the coolest home product show in Alexandria, the Home Builders Association of Central Louisiana's Home and Product Show, Saturday, September 20th at the Laborde Earls Entertainment Center. Check out the latest home products and learn how Barksdale Federal can help you remodel, build, or buy your dream home. Get details about Barksdale Federal's mortgage options at bfcu.org and come see us September 20th.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of St. best at Bricato's Restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
It's Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
Welcome back, everyone, on Talkback on this Wednesday. I'm Al Quartermont along with Stephen Maxwell, remembering the life of Robert Redford. That clip from The Natural where he hits the home run and all the lights start exploding and he's circling the bases in a shower of sparks.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Yeah. And the song, just the music. I mean, it's really a beautiful scene if you love baseball.
Al's tearing up over here.
Not too much. But
yeah. And that was an interesting conversation, addiction. Yeah. And I was telling her, and I don't want to go on this for too long, but there's a movie that just came out called Weapons. Yeah. And I went into it thinking it was your typical scary, suspenseful horror movie, because I like those.
Yeah.
But it ended up being this whole allegory on addiction. The director had to go through it in his life, and if you go into it with that lens of what it's about, it's interesting. I was kind of annoyed at first that it went that route because I was looking for good versus bad and see who wins. But it was an interesting take on what people go through with addiction and how families cope with it, the things that people with addiction end up doing. Like she was talking about that moral compass changes. And if you're into kind of scary movies of blood and, gore doesn't bother you too much, which it does me sometimes.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's called Weapons. Just came out.
Weapons. Okay. I probably won't see it.
I figured you would.
Have you gone to see Demon Slayer yet?
I don't even know what that is.
I guess it's like a big anime.
No, that's why I don't know what it is.
Oh,
I don't dog people who like anime.
Mm-hmm.
I just always kind of hated it. And I didn't hate it. I just never really got into it.
Yeah.
My brother kind of likes it, but not my thing. However, The Conjuring, The Last Rite just came out. Raving reviews. So I definitely want to go see that. That's a good movie. They're good movies.
Yeah.
Like, that's your classic scary movie. Good versus bad. You gotta defeat the demons or whatever they are. So. I know you hate stuff like that.
Yeah, not my favorite genre of movies. That's for sure.
But Conjuring isn't like these cheap little shots and stuff. It's usually great suspense, perfectly timed moments. It's good movies, and the actors are great. It's based on a true story.
Oh, is it?
I don't believe it, but it's a famous exorcist family from back in the day. They'd exorcise whatever. You hate it, don't you?
No, it's just not my thing. Just not my thing.
I figured. You're more of like Robert Redford hitting a home run movie kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know, Stripes.
Something uplifting. Yeah. Speaking of which, like with baseball, last night, Shohei Ohtani pitched 5 no-hit innings, but he's on a pitch count because he's still coming back from surgery. And when he left the game, I think the Dodgers were beating the Phillies 4-0. The next pitcher that came in, gave up 6 runs, and they ended up losing. And then he hit a home run later in the game. So he has 50 home runs on the year and 50 strikeouts. It's the first pitcher that's ever done that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And then Cal Raleigh yesterday for the Mariners, their catcher, he hit 2 home runs, and he passed Mickey Mantle for the single season record for home runs hit by a switch hitter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How many did he hit left-handed?
I'm not sure how it breaks down, but he's at 56, I think, on the year, somewhere like that.
Wow.
And I think he either tied or broke Ken Griffey's club record as well. I think Griffey hit that in 98, the year that Susan McGuire went 72 or 70, what was it, 72 and 64? I'm trying to remember the numbers, but 6 or 7.
We need to make baseball great again. I'm part of the problem. I don't sit and watch it anymore.
Yeah.
But this is tough.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go to the phones here on Talkback, the BOM Bank Talk Line. Good morning, you're on Talkback.
Well, you know what? One thing I noticed about the Charlie Cook situation is that how people on the right are attacking people on the left for saying horrible things about Charlie Cook. Kirk.
Right.
They can say anything they want to, and it's legal.
True. Yes, it is legal for them to say that as long as they're not calling for more violence. And also, they can say that, but it doesn't mean they won't lose their jobs for saying it.
Right. You know, most of that stuff, you have to go look for it to be offended by it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. And I was watching Bill Maher, a clip of Bill Maher with Charlie Kirk, and they were talking a little bit more about some Christian type things. And Maher said something like, you know, I don't mean to offend you. And Kirk just said, you can't. You can't offend me. And I really think that's true. I think he was just the kind of person that had the maturity to say, you can say anything you want to me, and I'm not going to take offense.
And I was watching him and his Kirk. It was about 3 months ago. It went viral. He went and debated Cambridge students in England. I mean, that was a hostile environment for sure.
Yeah.
And you're talking about some of the most, I guess you could say, intellectual students we'd expect. Some of them were just not very good at arguing with him. Some of them were fantastic. But he goes into the fire. He does it. I don't agree with everything he said in that, but I've been watching all of his stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I agree we need more debates. And I feel like we need more debates between, you know, 2 intellectual people instead of just beating up on college kids who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But he's also trying to prove a point there as well. Like, you really don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
But
but there's something else I'd like to tell you about. You know, I went back and I looked up the Kent State problem. In Kent State, they had the shooting.
4 dead in Ohio.
Right. I mean, that's the thing about it, is that the governor, they were having riots on that university. It's in Ohio, and the governor called up National Guard, a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds mostly, and 13 people got shot, 4 got killed. And, the thing is about that, there's one thing I've noticed is that, remember Neil Young wrote that song, Ohio, 10 soldiers and Nixon coming,
Right.
4 dead in Ohio, and the Beatles wrote Revolution. And these young people, they don't have music.
To speak to their generation?
Yeah, they have no music.
Yeah. The music now is, it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. At least
Yeah, but
all right, thanks, man. Appreciate that. That's an interesting point. Yeah, I think rock and roll back in those days had so much more of a message, I guess.
Al, can you name 5 new artists right now? Okay. I mean, I don't like the music now either, but just read a book. Frick.
Isn't it Shibuya a new artist? The Beatles or Shibuya? What do we think?
I'm not a big Beatles guy. I think they're highly overrated. You can come at me. I don't care. I don't have much argument for it. I just never was my taste.
Nah, I've tolerated them, but I'm not like passionately a Beatles fan.
I don't know. I've just never had music where I was like, oh, this is like speaking to my soul. I'm going to go on for a change.
Oh, yeah.
Just read a book, listen to arguments. You don't need music. I need music to like go out for a baseball or football game, get me hyped up.
There you go. Dun, 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 dun.
That's right.
All right. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Good morning. I was just wondering about wasn't there a book, the Turner Diaries, that the author got charged because he wrote a book, and it was kind of a long reach that people thought then, but it was his words incited people to murder or to plant explosives, I think is what it was. Do you remember that?
No idea.
No.
I think it was called the Turner Diaries.
1978 novel by William Luther Pierce. It was an American white nationalist group.
Well, but they planted explosives, and I think they went back and brought charges against the author for the book in a Colorado case, if I remember right.
Okay, interesting.
Okay,
I'd have to do some research on that, but thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay,
I would have to do it on that as well. That's insane.
Yeah. Now I'm just looking at some of the headlines that have come from posts, or I should say publications like the New York Times, how the Turner Diaries incites white supremacists. BBC, the Turner Diaries, America's Manual of Hatred.
Hey, did you see that there's reports out now, kind of speaking about that, the DOJ has deleted a study showing domestic terrorists, or most often right-wing. The Department of Justice removed the study showing that white supremacist and far-right violence continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism in the U.S. It was conducted by the National Institute of Justice, hosted on the DOJ website. It was there until September 12th of this year. Interesting.
Yeah, no, I'd heard, actually, I think I'd heard it on the Morning Wire the other day that the DOJ had eliminated some of that because they felt like it was targeting even just like, Christian groups and organizations unfairly. So
I wonder targeting how unfairly.
Yeah.
I mean, more of a
while
sample
ignoring
size
other groups that actually were doing things. So that was the context I heard it in. I'd have to, again, do a little more research.
or it just couldn't fit a narrative, And this goes back to, I don't want to go on a whole diatribe about this again, but we keep saying they and the left wing and they. Like this guy seems like he acted on his own from what we know right now.
Yeah, maybe.
Obviously, you can get influenced to, politically, and you can harbor hate in your
But
heart.
it sure didn't seem to be coming from the right.
It doesn't seem to be.
Yeah.
We don't really know what it was.
Yeah.
What is they? Like the left is a large group of people, just like the right is.
Now, I know the Congress the other night had a vigil in honor of Charlie Kirk, and there were only 6 Democrats that attended. So that's interesting. But, yeah, a lot of division right now. No question about that. But when we talk about what's going on with the left, I mean, where do we want to start? You know, BLM rights, Antifa, church shootings, Trump assassination attempt, Charlie Kirk assassination, fires at pro-life pregnancy centers, the vandalism on Teslas, attacks on ICE agents, attacks on police, attacks on courthouses. I mean, that hasn't been coming from the right the last few years.
I mean, we've also seen far-right extremists create violence in the past as well. I wouldn't equate you with that. So I think we should be careful about saying they. I mean, it's just a terrible.
No, I know your point is just because someone holds left of center ideas and values, more liberal or left-leaning political views, doesn't mean they're going to go out and commit violence. But something is fomenting that among, especially young people on that side, which I do think there's been a concerted effort and there's money behind it. And it's Kash Patel that said that they're planning to really dig into that and try to find out, you know, where is this coming from? Like when you have riots and all of a sudden truck pulls up and drops off a pallet full of bricks. I mean, that's coming from somewhere. And I remember even Boyd Hooper, when he did a story when they burned that suburb of St. Louis, 15 years ago, that he interviewed somebody saying all these people came from the outside. They're not even from here. So who's behind that? I think that's a good thing to know. It's a good thing to look into for sure. But anyway, we need to take a break.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Builders put the brakes on new home construction last month. Housing starts fell by 8.5% to the lowest level since May. Home construction has slowed in the last few years as the supply of new homes for sale reached levels not seen since the mid to late 2000s. Borrowing costs have dipped recently, but economists still see the oversupply of houses depressing construction in the coming months. Amazon is raising pay and lowering the cost of health care for employees. A company executive today said Amazon will invest more than $1 billion in pay and benefits for its transportation and fulfillment employees. People are eating more of their meals at home versus going out, and that's boosting General Mills, which reported profit that beat estimates. The company makes Cheerios, Progresso soup, Lucky Charms cereal, and Blue Buffalo pet food. Stock futures have been mixed this morning as investors wait on the outcome of today's Federal Reserve meeting. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Louisiana forests once fueled our economy. Your granddad logged these woods. So did your dad. And now, Beaver Lake Renewable Energy is keeping that legacy alive, turning thinnings and wood byproducts into clean fuel right here in Pineville. It means more jobs, stronger forests, and a future that honors where Central Louisiana came from. Be part of Louisiana's next chapter. Visit BeaverLakeRenewable.com and find out how we're putting Central Louisiana back on the map.
When buying a home or property, you have a choice for your real estate closing attorney. Fine Legal Services, LLC is a full-service title company offering residential and commercial real estate closings, title insurance, and more. Call your Alexandria, Louisiana attorneys, George Fine and Jeremy Cedars, at 318-767-2226 to learn more, or visit fine-lawyers.com. Let your realtor and lender know that you choose Fine Legal Services.
A message from Israel Air Conditioning and Heating.
Yeah, my mama, she told me to pick up and call Israel Air. She told me Israel Air. She told me. She said they'll come running with comfort beyond compare.
And a very fair price.
Because you know we're all about your comfort, no troubles. Call 442-6657. That's 442-6657. We're all about your comfort,
Good morning. Partly cloudy skies on our Wednesday with the possibility of an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. Lord knows we could use some rain at this point. Afternoon highs near 94 degrees, winds light and variable. Tonight, a few clouds will give way to generally clear skies overnight down to 68. And then for Thursday and Friday, you got it. No major changes in the forecast over the next couple days. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
Talk back. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
We are back. BOM Bank Talk Line. Good morning. You're on Talk Back.
Yeah. All this makes me go back to when I was in nursing school. This is like 50 years ago. Our psychology professor, we took a child psychology class, and she was very critical of the American educational system. She said it was all about indoctrination, and she said education was, they focused on rote memory and memorization skills and compliance. She said, like, and she used the example of coloring exercises for small children. And she said, the child who got the greatest, who stayed exactly within the lines, you know, the more they stayed within the lines. And she said, but the problem with that, our education system, is that it discourages creativity and critical thinking skills. And she said it makes people grow up to be susceptible to being indoctrinated by, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. And it all makes a lot of sense. The older I get, the more I see, the more I believe it. She was right.
Yeah. And that was something that we do hear, is that a lot of colleges and universities have become indoctrination factories.
Well, what does that mean? What does indoctrination factory mean?
It means that they're teaching an ideology that you have to subscribe to.
Another thing I read a long time ago, I don't remember where I read it, but this author was writing, he said the reason why his theory was why so many professors at colleges become PhD professors, they turn towards socialism, because they equate educational achievement with intelligence. And they think they're the most intelligent people on the planet, and they very much resent, like, students that get a bachelor's degree and then go on to become entrepreneurs and become fabulously wealthy, you know, while there they are, the epitome of intelligence in their mind, make a pittance, you know, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
And they resent people with less education than them becoming wealthy. So that's why so many of them turn into socialism and anti-capitalist.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think the natural inclination of human beings is that we think we're operating from varying degrees of intelligence, but really the truth is we're operating from varying degrees of ignorance. So when you remember that, we're all still learning and growing. So, all right.
I think
thanks for the call.
And I get what everyone's saying, and I think it's not like a black and white issue. I think it's important to go to university too. Life's not about just going there and getting a job. It's important to learn how to critically think. And if there is like this extreme indoctrination, that might be a problem. But you got to look at different sides of the thing. You have to learn how to critically think. It's not always a black and white issue. It's very complex.
Sure, but I do, you see plenty of testimonies and posts and things, people talking about, I was raised in a conservative home or a Christian home, and when I got to school, I had a professor that was leftist, and the way that they kind of handled them. Now, I will say this kind of goes from personal experience. When I was working on my master's degree at UL, I took a class. It was about man's spiritual quest through movies and literature, or something like that was the title of it. And the professor that taught it, I think I remember him telling us that he subscribed more to a Buddhist view of things. But I remember a couple of times in class where the kids, and they were younger, granted, I was much older at this point, in my 40s, that they would get offended at things he would say rather than trying to winsomely argue, if that makes sense. Now, the last thing we had to do for the class was write a paper on, is it possible for man to ever know God? And so what I did is I took everything that we had in the semester. We watched movies. We looked at different things. And there are movies that have themes that are strongly Christian that you don't even realize sometimes. That all about we had the lady on, Miss Shirley on, talking about how a lot of people, there's this giant hole in their lives. And so it's kind of about filling that, like what fills that. And I was kind of arguing through the different things that we looked at, where I came to, at the end, I used Paul appearing on Mars Hill and witnessing to the greatest kind of scholarly minds of Greece at that point, and use his arguments about whether we can know God. Well, I got an A on it. So my point is, and I think this is what Kirk was good at, you can intelligently, and you have to intelligently argue faith without getting offended right away and just hurling back insults or whatnot. But and they may still not believe you. They still may hate what you're saying. But I think there's a way you can go about it intelligently, and that's in the Christian realm. Sometimes we call that apologetics.
Yeah, I mean, universities should not be demonizing people for having a belief. The majority of the world has some sort of belief, believe it or not, or at least they claim to be religious. But the other side, too, we've seen the state of Louisiana try and put 10 Commandments in a classroom. So it's a different form of indoctrination.
Among other documents.
Yeah. And so I think the Constitution would be just fine. That's the rule of the land. I mean, the law of the land.
Yeah. But I think why the 10 Commandments were included was because of their influence on the founding documents.
Yeah, and that's what they say. That's their legal way of getting around putting them in schools, saying that it was the legal basis. And that's fine. There are other legal codes that...
Of course, maybe if we posted that, you wouldn't have people killing each other if they understood thou shalt not kill.
Oh, because that's really going to make a difference? Like,
it might.
Judaism doesn't have the patent on thou shalt not kill.
I understand that, but if we never teach that to kids, and if we just tell them life is basically a bunch of cells, and there's nothing after this life, then life becomes cheap. And it becomes like a video game. You start shooting people.
I think it's well known across society that you should not murder and that it's against the law.
Then why do so many people do it?
Why have they done it whenever we were a highly Christian nation? People were still getting shot and killed. Christian nations were still destroying people back in the day.
Sure, but not to the level that we're seeing with just the rampant violence.
If you read history, it's been a pretty violent place to be on this rock.
I'm way behind. I got to take a break.
KSYL. Starting a business can be overwhelming, especially when you do it alone. Don't do it alone. Take control of your future with a Janny King Gulf Coast franchise. With Janny King, you get guaranteed initial growth, reliable operational support, and ongoing education to set you up for success. Janny King has built a proven system that gives you the tools to take control of your future confidently and with the support you need to thrive. The future is yours today at JannyKingCleans.com.
Janny King, the king of clean.
It's the ultimate bourbon tasting competition. Battle of the Bourbon. And your chance to drink, vote, and win. Woo-hoo! Here's how. Local restaurants have crafted unique bourbon experiences for you to savor. See the restaurant list at battleofthebourbon.com. Visit each restaurant, enjoy their carefully crafted bourbon cocktails. Pay attention to the taste, the savor, and the overall experience. Then cast your vote for the restaurant that impressed you most online at battleofthebourbon.com. Participants who have visited a restaurant and voted will periodically win prizes, including gift cards, prize packs, experiences, and more. The Battle of the Bourbon competition ends September 30th, and the winner will be announced on October 1st. Plus, there are other ways to win. Tag the restaurants you visit and share your experience at #BourbonBattleSenlaw to win for best photos. May the best bourbon experience win. Visit ExploreLouisiana.com to plan your trip today.
Ooma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
Our office computers were from like 2012.
What? They had computers then?
Yeah, I don't know much about new tech.
Apparently.
So I went to Staples and saved big on an AI-powered HP laptop and HP OfficeJet Pro printer, which also came with 3 months of free instant ink.
And we're back in this century. During Staples HP Tech Event, save up to 35% on HP printers and up to 40% on AI-powered HP PCs.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app. In 11-1, select models only. 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL. Now back to Talk Back.
All right, so we're talking about just what kind of sometimes happens in college. So here's a woman, and I'm going to guess she might be from Louisiana because she's wearing a New Orleans shirt. And she's in a civil social change class. They were told to write about someone influential. She wrote about Charlie Kirk. She said other students did as well. And the teacher wrote back a multiple-page document about how horrible Kirk was and how Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are calling for political violence against the left. And listen to what she kind of shares some of what the teacher wrote to her and the other students. Take a listen.
Anyway, this is what she said. Basically, I'm about to paraphrase all of this for y'all because it's a lot to read. So in this section, she was basically like, wow, you made some good talking points. Is Turning Point, are they a movement? Absolutely. Have their methods been effective? Absolutely. Then she said, I wonder, though, through the geniuses of Kirk's Christian faith, because like him or not, he advocated not for the true teachings of Christ, at least not the ones she grew up with. Basically, she was in a Christian cult. We feel bad for her, prayers up to her, that she's, found the healing and all that good stuff. Then she goes to say, but again, propaganda dressed up in religion sells well. Honey, she ain't wrong. She right. She said, but let me challenge the faith message Kirk preached. I dare say hate, not Christian values, and I will stand on that. Well, honey, she says she's standing on it, and you know what? Hey, you are entitled to your opinion. Cool. Anyway, she said, I also did not really ever see Kirk actually debate. This is where I disagree, because he did debate. It's just the fact that the people that he were debating, they never had a good rebuttal or a good comeback to what he was saying, because what he was saying was true. And sometimes, like I always say, you can bring the horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. And sometimes, even though it's the truth, people are not ready to hear the truth. So I disagree with that. She said there are ample examples of his podcast and YouTube videos to illustrate my points. Honey, you mean all the heavily edited versions of those things that have already been debunked or taken out of context? But yes, sis, you go off. You know, right? Anyway, she said, I am not in any way suggesting you, Casey, or Mike, which are the other people that wrote about Kirk too, brought up racism or misogyny or othering, because I did not. I didn't. So I was confused, like, sis, hold on, wait a second now, because I never did any of that. We're only in week 3. Anyway, she said, I will also say that in the wake of Kirk's death, which is probably his most, great message or something. Unfortunately, there has been more calls. See, this is where I disagree too. Unfortunately, there has been more calls for violence against those who oppose his message in the Trump administration. Even calls for violence from President. Honey, where did you get this? Where did you get this this bit of information from? Because honey, that's news to me. I ain't never seen Trump come on there and say that the rights need to go pick up tiki torches and go burn some stuff. Never once seen that, and I didn't see Vance say that either. So I don't know what the hell she is talking about. Maybe she's looking at some of the Trump supporters that don't have no good common sense. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that's basically.
So interesting.
Well, I mean, she gave her opinion. She has an opinion too, and it teaches you to defend your opinion.
Yeah.
It should be an open dialogue.
All right, let's go to the phones again. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Good morning. Back to the violation of the First Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of 5 taxpayers who have been blocked by Councilman Mark Mercer on his government Facebook page. I was blocked because I stated correct information on our utility rates when he had given incorrect information to a citizen. Now, I was blocked, and the next day he made a post stating that he had to block somebody for profanity and vulgarity, which seems to be what he's done to the other people too. We can't contact him because we're blocked. He is a councilman, but he freely ridicules us on Facebook because we disagree with him. Now, according to the Supreme Court, this is a direct violation of our First Amendment rights. It is also a breach of his oath of office. So I've talked to the ethics board and the Attorney General's office. And Ethics Board keeps sending me to Attorney General, and the Attorney General keeps sending me back to Ethics Board. So it's kind of like, well, what do we do? Now, he's used his councilman page to make threats to destroy our mayor and 3 other council members. And he scrubbed his page right before he announced his candidacy to run for mayor. And I did have the opportunity before he blocked me to confront him about scrubbing this page. And he told me that Mike Johnson had asked him to remove all that stuff. And that's why he did it. This is just wrong. We're taxpayers, and our tax dollars go towards his salary. So he enjoys our money, but he has silenced our voices. And anyway, I thought I'd throw this out there in case somebody has a viable solution for us, because we're just hitting brick walls.
Yeah. I can see how that would be frustrating when you're trying to contact the ethics board AG and they just kind of keep you going back and forth, kind of like that scene in Home Alone where the mom's calling in and they keep transferring her to different offices in the police department. So,
I don't know if his councilman page would be something that he couldn't block you from if he wanted to. I don't know what the laws are behind that, because he probably...
No, Supreme Court made a ruling on that.
Okay, I'd have to research that.
Would it be a publicly funded Facebook page?
No, he could block us from his personal page, but he cannot block you from his government page.
Interesting. Okay.
I see that.
Have to do some research on that, but... And you said he was accusing you of using profanity?
Well, he didn't use my name,
Okay.
but I'm assuming I was the only one that was blocked.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I know you've been posting things rather critical of the mayor.
Right.
Am I right on that?
Well, yes, and he supposedly has a box that he calls it, which actually he got all these Facebook posts that were collected that the town had access to. And he made this big do about a year ago that he was going to open this box and destroy the mayor and the council members. And he teased his followers with the opening of this box. And I think he's opened maybe three things out of the box that really don't make any sense. So, his followers are still waiting for him to open this box and destroy everybody. But he's now removed that from this page. But it's just ridiculous. We're taxpayers and we deserve better.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate your call this morning. Thanks for letting us know about it.
All right. Well, thank you. And y'all have a good day.
Thanks. You too. We need to take a break.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
One big, beautiful bill. A signature achievement for President Trump. The decisive vote to get it done in the U.S. Senate? Louisiana's Bill Cassidy. Cassidy stood with Trump to provide historic investments in border security. Together, they delivered critical tax relief for working families. And the Trump-Cassidy law will boost manufacturing and energy production right here in America. And when President Trump needed a partner in the U.S. Senate to pass tough new penalties on fentanyl traffickers, it was Bill Cassidy who stepped up and got it done. With Trump and Cassidy, you can count on one thing: a conservative agenda for Louisiana and America. Call Senator Cassidy at 225-929-7711. Thank him for standing with President Trump and for fighting and winning for Louisiana and America. Paid for by Louisiana Legacy Policy Solutions, Inc.
Think your antivirus is enough? Think again. Your business firewall is the first and often only line of defense against cyber attacks. At Kinetics, we manage, monitor, and update your firewall 24/7, keeping threats out and your data protected. Don't leave your network exposed or your team scrambling. Let the experts handle it. Get your free assessment today at kinetics.solutions. That's kinetics.solutions. Kinetics, IT that works.
It's like a match made in heaven. Louisiana rice and Louisiana crawfish. And man, oh man, do they go together. Think crawfish and rice stir fry, crawfish and rice casserole, our world famous etouffee. Simple Louisiana ingredients, rice and crawfish. Cajun, Creole, baked, fried, boiled, however you like. Just start with rice and give those little mud bugs some spicy Louisiana love. The proud farmers of certified Louisiana rice invite you to visit startwithrice.com for recipes. Brought to you by the proud farmers of certified Louisiana rice.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
All right, we are back here on Talkback, and we are out of time on Talkback, just like that.
I was going to say something controversial. Dang it.
What were you going to say?
I don't know.
We'll carry this into tomorrow.
If Councilman Mercer wants to call in tomorrow, that's fine with us. Because I know we had that call. But it'll be interesting to see. Election season's coming up.
It is, and things always get interesting. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk with you again tomorrow.